Hello and welcome back to the show. So, our next match is going to be Mousesports versus CSGO Lounge, and we have a bit of a change in that Mousesports have kicked God B, and Spiddy is going to be in his place. Yanko.
It's as if like every team decided to make a roster change.
This whole button thing's not working out for you, is it?
Yeah, it's like every team decided to make a roster change before this tournament. I don't know
Right.
what's up, but we'll have to see how it pans out for Mousesports. I heard that they're going to use Capio as their in-game leader, who was their coach before this, so not really sure, if that's a good decision. It's certainly going to need some time for it to be effective, but yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
So, I know on HLTV or wherever it said that God B was the captain. Captain's not necessarily always the in-game leader, but obviously we knew he was. I don't know if he was up to the end of his tenure there, or if someone else was.
I would assume so, but they've brought in. If they had a plan to actually make Capio their in-game leader for the future, then it doesn't really matter. In any case, if he's going to take over the reins going into the new year, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, though. I think this might give a result similar to what we saw with Cloud9, a team that might have lost their identity. We know that the in-game leading style of Gabi was a lot more strict than a lot of other European teams kind of roll with. So I'm curious to see how Mousesports are going to deal with it. I would say that they do have a lot more explosive firepower than Cloud9's team does at this point, especially with the guys like Nico and Chris J, who could pretty much win a game single-handedly if they are on point.
So what about CSGO Lounge? Are we familiar with them at all? Anyone?
Well, yeah, it's what used to be the second best team in Poland until Vext made their arrival really onto the scene. They've had some really strong players in both Innocent, Michu, Spiro. Well, pretty much their entire lineup is really solid. The newest guy, Oscarish, is probably the least experienced out of the entire five, but he's been doing pretty well at getting into the lineup and doing work.
We can see the vetoes here.
Yeah.
The Lounge have picked Mirage, and Mouse have gone for Dust 2. The deciding map will be Cash. Does this favour either side, do you think, or how do you feel about these vetoes?
I'm actually okay with both teams actually. I think Lounge is gonna be pretty happy with it. Them getting Mirage, I think this is a really good map for them. I'm not really sure what we can expect out of Mouse on Mirage without Gabi. I've liked how Mouse have played previously. If you go way back, so to the start of the year, where they were one of the first teams to actually play super aggressively on their CT side by putting a lot of aggression up on mid and that type of stuff. I think that's really cool. Maybe we can see a bit of a return of that disruptive CT style play. Other than that, I think it's a map pool that allows for 3 maps, pretty much. I think Duster is going to be hard for CSGO Lounge to take down Mouse on.
Yanko, what are your opinions on the maps? Opinion on the map?
I feel that maybe Mouse has a significant advantage coming into Dust 2, but on Mirage and Cash, I feel it's going to be pretty close. Both teams had roster changes, but they played last time at the beginning of December in the Acer Predator Masters tournament, and Mouse won 2-0, but both maps went into overtime, so it's been real close. I feel that it could be close now, especially because of the roster changes, but I have to favor Mouse to pull through in this one.
Okay, so the first map is going to be Mirage. Dan, I haven't heard your thoughts yet. Where do you stand on all of this?
Well, generally speaking, for me, I think it's going to be a hard one to call because, again, there's so many random factors going into this one, especially with Gobi being missing. But it might actually give a bit of freedom for the team to play a little bit more loose with the immense amount of skill on the lineup that was already talked about. And for me, that's what it's always been about with this team is I wanted to see explosive results from these players really being truly enabled. I felt like Gobi had some good approaches to allowing that to happen, but it never quite panned out in a consistent manner, I would say. So I would actually like to see them playing almost like an envious kind of style, just test the limits individually and see how they can edge out the game with that. And I feel like the map pool, generally speaking, does actually allow you to do that. We're not really seeing an Inferno where you need a lot of strategies and well-coordinated tactics and so on to get through choke points. You can give some freedom to the players, and I think that should benefit both sides equally, actually, in this one.
All right, well, the knife round is still going on. I'm told it was a 3-minute knife round. I'm sure it was epic, a slobber knocker, a trilogy in 3 parts, but it's just finished now, so we'll see who starts on the CT side shortly. And just in brief, again, as Yanko mentioned, we have a lot of teams here who have had some roster changes in the very much short term. Liquid are going to be our first North American match later, and they're going to be playing with an Alu, playing from Finland. which is
Why not?
Pretty
100
far
Like
away.
roster changes are not enough. You're gonna bring in players playing from a different continent altogether.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of Kazakhstani Adren, who always used to play with 100 ping. Basically, I used to call him the clutch king with 100 ping because he used to just body people regardless, and then wait till he gets to land. So, but 150 ping AWP, I think, is a bit of a different story. We'll have to see how that goes a bit later on. We should be starting Mousesports versus Lounge very soon. I think producer said that Lounge went. We're going to start on the CT side. So again, it's a best of 3, starting on Mirage, then moving on to Dust 2. So I don't know what Godby's been removed. So really, we have no idea what to expect from Mousesports. Only time will tell.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what approach they take. Again, you want to see them keeping things simple, of course. And that actually could be something that I think Mouse can look out for. CSGO Lounge can look out for. And they should have a lot of familiarity as well, I would say, because they have been on the same kind of tier of competition for quite some time. Even if there have been some roster changes, there should be a level of familiarity there. That there shouldn't be any great shocks for either side. So I would probably expect something pretty default from both teams, just filling each other out and nothing too crazy. I'm just looking to see who's actually hitting the shots today, because that's, to me, what it's about. It's about the firepower on both teams. Again, we're mentioning players like Mihu and Spiro, which again, 2 standouts for me for the Polish side. And of course, I want to see Chris J performing. I want to see Nex performing. I want to see Nico performing. It's all about the performances here for me.
Is there anyone you don't want to see perform here then?
He really doesn't like Dennis. Really doesn't like Dennis.
Dennis and Speedy, no.
No, you don't like them? Okay.
Just those 3 players specifically, but especially Chris J, actually, because he's a bit mental. And he's been a bit of a sleeper sometimes.
Okay, so we're going to have Yanko staying with us this time, and Ventetta's going to be the analyst man after the game, mixing things up a bit for you here in the studio. So we've got Mousesports with a 5-man push-up top mid of the inferior weaponry there. Those clocks don't have the range of this P2000. There's a nice start there for Lounge.
Absolutely, 5 versus 4 already, and that's going to thin out the players moving on to a bomb site, which is very annoying because usually you want to try to exchange the bodies on your team to get positioning. That's the trade you make, but Nico is bringing things back here for Mousesports. Yanko's boy Nico.
Yeah, my boy Nico. They went for a really unconventional opening of a round, going with 5 players towards mid. I suppose they wanted to surprise Lounge, get that initial pick inside window room, then maybe fall back, but didn't work out. Now they're in a deficit.
And here it is. They're starting to make their way onto the final destination for this round, which will be that B-bomb site. And we'll have Mihu looking for the defense immediately. And there it is. Fast shot straight to Nico. He takes a dirt nap as well as everyone else. It would see Spiddy surely not long for this one against 4 players, now 3. He does manage to burst himself onto the bomb site now. Just faking the plant to bait out some more players. And there is one that's very low next to him, and there it is, the shot to Oscarish to take him down. Nice dink there as well. That's going to be a very low innocent, 2 HP on his last fibers there. As we have Speedy once again faking it, using the time, trying to get the jump burst, working his way, but it's Mouse that will take the frag. So that's going to be the round for Lounge Gaming. And what a crazy round it was.
Yeah, they went for a gimmicky round and they got punished for it. I mean, alright, you just change your in-game leader, you're gonna try something new, maybe something different, but if it's a pistol round, you can just go for something. If you want to rush, just rush B. That's even better than going mid. You're at a big disadvantage there.
Okay, well, it's the 4 spy shenanigans time for Mousesports, and already we're going to see a dink onto, or sorry, not a dink, but a connection from the scout onto Lounge here, and it's going to make life a little bit more complicated. Mousesports looking quite spread out at the moment. The bomb over towards B, 3 players towards the A bomb site to get the fake going, but they got to sell it by making some frags. Big investment in players, and they get nothing from it. This is a really horrendous result right now as the rest of the players have been spotted in apps, and the game is given up at this point. Not much Mousesports can really do in this position. Dennis tries to get out of there, but that is not going to happen, and that is all she wrote.
Not liking the beginning of this match for Mouse. They're all over the place. Now they had 2 guys pushing out slope, and they didn't have anyone in A apps, so you know you lose that possibility to pinch the CT players inside. 1 player was constantly in B apps. In the end, we saw him get picked out. So I really expect more from them coming into this in further half.
Yeah, it's just about cleaning up the eco now. But a good economic start for Lounge Gaming. to get a clean sweep in this one, which will be the boon, or a boon to their money. Now we'll have to see how much damage Mousesports can get done here with the likes of Chris J, Next and Nico, the stars, 3-star players. Big performance for Mousesports.
So if you are confused at home, Jeroman is indeed Spiro. Apparently it's a name he also uses for whatever reason, so try and avoid any confusion here. 2 CTs over towards the A site at the moment, where there is a lurker in the palace area. The bomb's been spotted top mid and taken down by Spiro with the AWP. Being collected by Next, as you can see there, and we'll see if there's any aggression from Lounge on the short area. They have 2 people there, but they're rotating one now towards the CPL position. Mouse going down on the site. And, still a man advantage for the CTs. Mousesports in control of the connector area, but they no longer have a lurker on either sides.
Yeah, this is a pretty rough situation. Mousesports quite weak with the remaining 3 players, but they managed to make their way up short at the moment. And we'll have 1 player there for Lounge. Actually, now a second one making his way from shop. It's Mihu's on the apartment side. He'll be smoking apartments off to give himself a little bit of safety. And there it is, the spot onto Spitty. So they're starting to build a presence in Mousesports, and now they know 2 players pushing up. That's got to be the committed play into B, and the full rotation now has been initiated, as Oxcris just has to delay these 2 Ts from planting the bomb, and they should be able to win their rounds.
Yeah, he's got position to do so, but he's gone down now to Dennis coming out from the apps. Spiro's got the angle. Next peeks with the bomb. There goes the bomb. 1-man advantage now for the CTs. 15 seconds on the clock as well. Dennis more or less has to find both frags here, because that bomb could not be in a worse situation unless it was inside the window. And indeed, Spiro will get the final frag. So Lounge, keep the clean sheet for now.
So we'll have to see whether or not Mousesports, with what would be a bit of a quasi-buy here, just a few investments on the pistols, will be enough to do some extra damage, because now Lounge have an opportunity to start running away with things in that sense.
You can see in the previous round that if you're not coordinated well enough, and you go for that mid control like Mouse tried, and the CT team has an AWPer. I mean, has an AWPer who actually did really well. Previous round, the Spero almost single-handedly dismantled them in that round. He got 4 kills, and now Mouse is most likely going to be down 5-0.
Does look that way. The push is slowly making its way up apartments, but it's known. It's been announced. The presence is there. And CSGO Lounge are responding. But just waiting patiently here. This looks very awkward, to be honest. Next we'll find the Beagle kill, but that's about it.
Yeah, Chris J will not get anything done in that round. So Lounge off to a great start. Lots of money on the CT side as well. So if there is future tough times, then they will be able to weather the storm somewhat. But we'll see if they can retain their momentum. The AWP coming out onto Chris J now. Also known as AWP or AVP, but it's English. It's English. So we'll call it AWP. It's definitely a W, not a V. Bomb left in T-spawn for the time being. So there's not much of an issue for the team. They can rotate it later on, but they're going to use all the numbers and try and take their initial map control. We've got Spitty top mid at present, not really being peeked by anyone. Innocent is over towards the jungle area, although Spiro has an aggressive position towards Palace. Is the peek going to come in from the T side in Palace? Nico could be in trouble here. Will he be brave enough to shoulder peek? He's going to get taken down by Spiro. 2-man advantage now for Lounge.
Yeah, so the bravery was present, but not the shots. Spitty and Nexto starting to create some openings onto the middle and A bomb sites. And Chris J is so far up. How on earth is he so far pushed at this point? And he's looking for this shot. Oh, he's just going to miss a very timely jump there. Very timely indeed. I believe it was Innocent. He was getting away there with his life. Bomb has, of course, been spotted by the CTs, which has prompted this rotation. And we can see Spitty there just trying to find the angle, looking for the sidestep and then the tap, but he's not going to get the frag just yet. This 2 versus 3 is going to be quite difficult indeed, and Innocent's going to take down Chris J, making it all the more harder, and that's going to be a 6-0 for Lounge.
I have to say, I really disagree with the approach that Mouse has coming into this half. Second round in a row, they're going for this default setup, spreading all over the map. I mean, if you're just change the player in game leader especially, and you probably want to, you know, use that firepower you have, play a style similar that we saw from G2 in the previous match. Let those players go ham, try to get some entry kills, and then take over the site after that. Second gun round in a row, they got picked apart all over the map because they're not as coordinated as you need to be if you want to go for that mid control or a default setup.
I think we have smokes going down towards the window and the short area. Can Oscar and co hold things down? It's a great flash, lots of blind players, but they're not going to get taken down before their vision comes back. Spiro coming in for a frag onto Spiddy. We've got trades for either side. Man advantage for the CT. Spiro just waiting for Next to walk into his crosshair there. And the bomb's gone down for the T's, but can't expect him to take this round. 2 versus 4. Cristiano taking down Spiro finally. Things evened up now, but can they get into superior positions? Miles going to take down Chris, leaving Nico alone, and he won't last very long. The AWP will be collected for Spiro, and Lounge will continue 7-0.
Big advantage at the moment for Lounge. And especially on the CT side, you know, in the previous match we saw how important the CT economy can be, and Lounge have managed it quite perfectly at this point. Mousesports unable to really put much of a dent in that, and now the AKs will come into play. Chris J considering the AWP maybe for a moment, but it does look like they're just all rushing towards the A side of the map immediately, so we might just have to expect a set play. However, the push from Mouse could be quite painful here for Lounge, and indeed actually it's going to be Mousesports to pick up the frag. This should really help them on this set play.
Yeah, they're positioned in a way where we once or twice saw NIP throw a double nade over the top on the CT side, but not something you really see in today's Counter-Strike. Great headshot there by Innocent, looking for a second one, he'll find it. Traded finally by the C's, leaving in a 3 versus 3. Lounge are out of position now, the remaining players towards the A side. Smoked off from connected for jungle with one player coming in from short. So Mousesports have a good opportunity to get the bomb down and take the CT area as well, which will be important going forward.
Absolutely. Spiro there with a shot on Chris J, just putting it down to Nico now for Mousesports to pick up their first round on the board. And oncoming 2 players. Fire there, it's going to push him out of position. He's going to get the first frag, but surely he will burn alive. There's no way out alive in that situation. Burnt to a crispy Nico. And Spiro will get the defuse. And another round won by Lounge. Even though they lost 4 players, they can take the hit.
Yeah, those 2 headshots from Innocent made the difference, that he had the time to get the second kill as well. Nico realized and pushed taps immediately to trade with him. And if Mouse had that 1 extra player inside for the retake, it would have made all the difference. But unfortunately, they got picked off again. A couple of crucial kills by Spiro in the retake, and Lounge is up 8-0.
Well, can Mousesports get their first round on the board here? They are concentrating the forces towards the B area with currently a lurker position in Nico, just waiting for some aggression from Lounge. There will be no such aggression. So what will the play be here from Mousesports? We've got the nades coming in again towards the site, towards the window, trying to cut off any crossfire from the CTs here. Oscar is not going to have the counter flash this time. He's positioned well though. Spiddy goes down, so does Next. No frags yet for Mousesports.
Yeah, it's looking pretty painful here indeed for Mousesports once again, but can they make it happen? Looks like Nico's getting it done with a fast triple out of the gates, and now it's going to be just on Moose. He's in there with the rotation around shorts, and he's got full HP, a couple flashbangs, a kit, so he can take his time and look for the first player. And he will spot one, and his position's given up. Can he make this happen? He's got a bit of a window here as the plant goes down by Chris J. He knows he's going to peek from that position. Chris J gets eliminated immediately, and now the second frag as well going Lounge's way. Moose is going to clutch it, and wow, it's definitely should have gone Mousesports' way. You got to think there. They must have had quite the advantage in that 2 versus 1.
I mean, that was a misplay from Chris J right at the end. You even saw Nico throwing a flash when they realized that the last Lounge player is up cat, and Chris J peeked before the flash exploded, and Mouse managed to kill him. In the end, won the 1v1 against Nico, who was around 40 HP, and you should never lose that round. That round can be played perfectly, so you basically have 5% chance to lose it, and Chris J gave him a chance, he used it, and 9-0 for Lounge.
Mousesports with strong control of the mid area at present. Innocent's going to be throwing a nade onto the slope. Meanwhile, Spiro has started the proceedings. Innocent coming in to stop the lurker towards A as well. What will the read from Lounge be? They meant not needed read because they're finding all the frags here. Chris has gone down as well. So 5 versus 2 as the last 2 players try to move into ladder room and short.
Yeah, very fast round indeed. Just Spitty left. And Mousesports have been blown to smithereens by the defensive strength of Lounge Game, and this Polish side maybe looking to challenge Vexed again for that position as second best Polish team behind Virtus Pro, of course. And Spitty, he's going to find himself the plant, but with 3 HP and 2 oncoming players, he is not long for this world. But at least he got a bomb down. That's going to be $4,200 for the team. But, well, still yet to claim a round on Mousesports.
This is the 3rd time Mouse goes for the same thing, mid-control, default round. This is the first time that they actually got to plant the bomb, but they haven't been even close to winning an actual round. Now, I would agree that this is the way to go if you're actually a team who coordinated enough and you're just losing a round. They need to realize that right now they cannot win a round this way. They need to just try and do more simple stuff and rely on those entry kills, because you see, I mean, again, they're going for a pretty similar setup, and I don't see it ending any other way than it was so far.
Or perhaps Nico, with that entry frag, as you said, relying on some of these entries that these powerful players can provide could be salvation. But as you mentioned, it is looking like it's developing pretty similarly to the previous round. Let's see if they have a different result.
Moving up short with 2 lurkers in B apps. This looks very good for Mousesports. They've got 4 players coming into the sites. Chris J and Dennis taking some damage though, but Lounge are so out of position that surely this is going to be too hard for them. The smoke's coming in. It isn't going to push through, get shot straight in the face. 4 versus 2. And we should see Mousesports make their way onto the scoreboard. Lounge though don't have much to lose here apart from giving an AWP to Mousesports. Other than that, they have the money to try and do as much damage as possible to Mousesports, which will be important for the long game in the last third of this first half. 4 players still on the side, just not engaging, not just holding angles, and Lounge may just wait for the exits. A bit of baiting onto Spiro there. We'll see if he gets punished for it later on. Chris J taking down Mouse, and there we go. Spiro taking 1 down, but how many more can he find for his team? I think that will be it. So Mousesports with 3 players surviving finally get their first round on the board, but it's 1-10.
Of course, as soon as I say they're not going to win a round, they win a round. So, I mean, I had to give some room for Mouse there to still remain competitive, and again, this was just because Nico got the 2 entry kills and opened up the side for them. They got the trade on Oscar, who was the lone player on B, and after that it was a pretty straightforward situation. But this is a really important round for Mouse not to get their economy reset here.
Yeah, we got Mouse looking to defend this area more or less by himself in the immediate parts of the round, as we have Mousesports looking to get themselves onto an A setup with their offense. And in they slowly creep. They're looking to go for a contact play. It looks like that's the case. Just walking in there, now running. So the game's being given away. And Mouse is going to hear it. He's going to throw the counter grenades. If he can get some counter grenades from his teammates, he might be able to peek out and make a frag. It's actually Innocent to open things up. Mousesports really struggling to get forward positions. And with a round panning out like this, you don't like their chances, as Spiro is going to start taking frags as well. And Mousesports have nothing but next left. And that's going to be that closed out. That was another very flat round.
I mean, look how slow they were coming out of A slow. They even couldn't get past the Tetris box. There's no one there to go first to say, okay, I'll die, but I'll buy enough time for you guys to also be behind me to get the trade kill. Everyone was just shoulder peeking, trying to get the duel. The counter flashes destroyed them, and in the end, it was, as you said, another clean round for Lounge, and forces Mouse on an easy.
Well, Spitty has a flashbang. Next, and Dennis support from Kevlar. There's a helmet there, hero there. Ooh, Spiro's got to be careful there. Can't go to the well one too many times. Doesn't need to risk himself too much. If he gets taken down peeking the window, the AWP could even fall into mid, so he's got to be very careful about it. Just trying to keep an eye on the short. There is a boost coming in into CPL, so he's going to be close to that 5-7. Trying to take down one of these players in mid, and he's going to take down Dennis as he just shows his head. The Jack in the Box has been punished, and there's just more jumping going on. What is this? Super Mario Brothers, but with guns!
It's actually really smart by Spiro not to try to AWP there. I think a lot of players would actually try to use the AWP in that position, but he's going to get an ace by just running and gunning with the 5-7. And that's really smart, actually, although it's quite risky, and somehow he didn't die, but still.
I mean, that just looked ridiculous.
It really did.
He's got 24 kills in 13 rounds. I mean, he's been the player for Lounge Gang in this map so far. I mean, it's looking pretty grim for Mouse, not just because of the result, but because of the way they've been losing.
Big push up mid here from CSGO Lounge as well, and they'll go for 2 for 1. And there's more players where that came from. Mouse is there to try to claim the last frag, and he might just do it with a nade. Not quite. Nico will escape with 20 points of health as the rest of his team make their way up apartments to try to create an opening onto a bomb site, and then maybe they can find a way to win the round. But Oscarish is there to ruin their day. Not going to happen just yet though. 3 versus 3 now on the bomb plant.
Yeah, the 3 CTs on a long rotation. Bomb goes down, so at least very worst there's a bonus for these Ts going into the last round, but Chris J and Nico are very heavily tagged. Spiro charging in with AWP. All the Mousesports players are spread out in the nooks and the crannies. They all need to be seeked by these players. There is a nade and a Molotov onto the CTs, but they first need to identify where everyone is. Time's running out now. There's only one more player to find in Dennis. He's by the side. He's going to get sprayed down. And a defuse should just about come in for Mihu. Indeed it will. 13 to 1.
Oscarish almost lost the round for his team. They were in they had the numbers advantage. They were 4v3. They probably also knew that one of the Mouse players was low, and we talked about it yesterday as well. He was the lone player on B, and he was in an all-in position. Granted, the jump through the window before someone actually picking him on the left side is gonna rarely happen, but you saw it happen just now, and it almost lost them the round.
And here it is. Now this time Mousesports want to try the A play again. It's been very, very poor for them in the previous rounds. And as noted, they couldn't get past Tetris. Will this time be any different? Can they get any further? Can they make it into new territory, into the bomb site? Looks like so far they're being denied. And once again, they just can't push forwards. It's going to be Dennis finally making a frag, making an effort onto the site, but he's quickly removed. It's now Chris J up from middle, up from connector on the flank. And he's the only man left, and it's too transparent, that play. Lounge with 14 rounds, Mousesports with 1. Apparently losing God B is really still hurting quite a lot.
It's not like they lost God B, it's not like they lost, you know, all control of their hands then, as almost.
Yeah.
You know, they can't make anything go their way, basically, and I don't know, I'm really disappointed in their performance so far. Let's see if they need some kind of a momentum, if not in, you know, for this map. If they can't win this map, then so they can get rolling in the second map and maybe come back into this matchup.
Lounge looking to end this quickly with 5 men, 4 of which have armor. Innocent with a flash and a Molotov starting to come out now. See that Molly goes down towards the van. Mouse taking down Spiddy. So Mousesports are in a lot of trouble here. This could look like a 16-1 the way it's going. There's only 1 man advantage for Lounge at the moment, but Mousesports are on the wrong end of all kinds of choke points and horrible little entries into the site there. 3 versus 3 now. Down goes Nico. The clock is ticking. There's no defuse kit on these last 2 players. It's Chris J in versus Spiro now. There's actually a lot of time on the clock for him to find this kill. Looking for it, and Spiro's just going to play with him and dance around the block. It's like it's a roller disco.
Yeah, had a glitch in the matrix there as well.
It's a roller disco, but the dates left him, and it's all gone wrong.
15-1.
Yanko comes on, and we get a crushing result.
Don't worry, boys, if you want to speed up the schedule, just be in the casting chair. No problem. But I mean, here is an example of what Mouse should have done maybe in their pistol round, you know. Go all together, pretty simple strat, have only a couple of flashes and a Molotov. Go as a unit, try to get those close range duels with the Glock where it really can have an advantage over the USP.
Well, the end is surely nigh. 1 scout versus Poland, basically. And the army is coming in. So, there are 3 players left for Mousesports here. And I'm not sure what else to say. What else there is to say at this point. 15-1. Mousesports on the force buy with man disadvantage. Lounge just holding a square around the bomb, and it's being collected. It seems they will head over towards B.
Yeah, here we go. Lounge looking to finish this one off. Big advantage. And the end is nigh for Mousesports. Unless next comes out with something quite ridiculous. But it would feel there's only it would still just be delaying the inevitable. And there it is. 5-7 in play. And bit of an anticlimax there. Next gets nothing done. And here comes the rest of Mousesports. First frag for Dennis, and he makes a second one as well. That's pretty fantastic stuff. Looking at a third, and all of a sudden, Launcher a little bit worried, but that's going to be that 16-1, first 16-1 that we've seen. What on earth was that? I mean, nothing was going the way of Mousesports there.
Vendetta.
What to say? Kicking game leader become clueless. Like that was just ridiculous. And Yanko pointed out several times. I think it's okay for the Mousesports to actually go out into defaults because clearly they had no other ideas as to what to do. But you have to have something. I don't understand how you can play in a structured team for so long and then just instantly become clueless as to what's going on around you for that long. And well, it doesn't really hurt the fact that Shapiro had an amazing game and basically controlled whatever Mousesports wanted to do. So Mousesports, even trying to do something from their default, were just shut down pretty much immediately.
And I mean, as regarding Godby's leading style, because there are different types of leaders, right? Because Happy, for example, is more known for just giving very free, or rather has a lot of freedom emphasized in the takes of how he calls the rounds. So, and he himself can emphasize his own individual skill, which if Happy's out of the equation, it's pretty easy for those players to then basically kind of feel it out and do the same similar style. But if you have Godby, because it seemed like he had a very regimented style of calling, a bit more like you'd have an existence or so on. What do you think is the impact there? Because the leader's been removed, but if it's like for example with Cloud9, where you've got a really firm presence like Godby, like Schwangez, I feel like it's almost expected to see a difference like that immediately.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to leave a mark on you because you do. I wouldn't be surprised if the players feel somewhat lost as to what they want to do because they've always had this, I guess, voice in their head constantly when playing, telling them what the next step of your plan to the final goal is going to be at any given time. But still, it's really surprising to see Mousesports coming out that flat because it's not like the guys have stopped playing, pugs or gathers or mixes or just anything at all. They still know how to play Counter-Strike, so you should be able to adapt at least to a certain extent and not just get steamrolled like they just did.
Because it's almost as if they can't use their skill, which is crazy because we know how skilled that next Nico and Chris J.
Yeah, and you would imagine once you go away from that regimented style that would allow them to do what they feel like they can go into their own. Let's say Nico loves going apps on Mirage, A apps, and that if he doesn't have anyone to control him, he can do that pretty much every round if he wants to, because who's actually going to say no? Like, who's going to hold him back? But no, it just didn't seem like Mousesports had any sort of direction as to what they wanted to do, and it was maybe a tiny bit too free-flowing to the point where they didn't have any sort of in-game plan.
Well, the next map is going to be Dust 2, so we'll see if they can mount a stronger offense on that one. We'll be back in a few minutes with the second map, so stay tuned and we'll see you back here soon.